Of Wall Street is speculation. While it might be much ado about nothing, like Donald's saying, I mean, couldn't we just not participate in this pandemic? We've had a bunch of pandemics. The H2N3 was killing a whole bunch of Americans just 2 years ago. MERS, SARS, Zika, swine flu, bird flu, Ebola, West Nile. So we've had lots of outbreaks. West Nile, they declared emergency. Clinton did in 2000. So we got a national emergency has been declared. Now, MERS and SARS are both coronaviruses, just like some of the common cold. Some different common colds are coronaviruses too. Coronavirus, it's a little bit different. The one that we're all worried about, COVID-19, because it goes for the lungs, and it uses RNA, but not DNA. It uses RNA. So there's no immunity to the coronavirus. And then I'm going to say coronavirus for the COVID-19. Coronavirus works. But there's no immunity to the virus because it's brand new. So that means everybody is susceptible to getting it. Mostly 80-year-olds are dying of it, and only 41 Americans so far have died of it. And then around the world it's been 5,000 people, and 3,000 were in China. So more people have died of the flu this year and pneumonia this year than coronavirus. Though perhaps they died of the coronavirus too. I don't know. But there's different things the CDC is recommending. They say cover your coughs with the inside of your elbow, with a tissue, wear a face mask if you're sick, quit smoking, don't share personal items, don't eat or drink after others, don't cough on others, don't use other people's toothbrushes, use your own bathroom, avoid crowds, stop traveling, stay home, avoid non-essential plane trips. These are all CDC recommendations. Hand sanitizer, I think it's bacterial, but if it's alcohol, I guess it kills viruses too. So they said if the hand sanitizer has 60% alcohol, then it would work just as good as washing your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water. Wash your hands a bunch. You can never wash your hands too much. In fact, go wash your hands right now, America. I'll go wash my hands right after this. Every time you go into a meeting, every time you touch a doorknob, sanitize your phones. Everybody touches their phones. Take the phones into the bathroom. Sanitize your phones. Don't touch your face. Sanitize everything. Bleach everything. Don't drink the bleach, but just bleach everything. Just, have a clean lifestyle. And you don't have to wear a face mask. It's generally for the sick person because they're running out of face mask because everybody's rushing out and buying toilet paper and face mask for some reason. But basically, it's for the health care providers. It's personal protective equipment, and it's for a sick person. But it could work, right? It takes droplets, so it takes a cough. It's very susceptible, very easy to go from person to person. So is it from Wuhan? Is it from China? Is it a U.S. military thing? That's what China's saying, that it's actually the armed forces. This is biological warfare, which would make no sense for America to do because we have no universal health care or sick leave or anything like that. So this is really going to test a bunch of governments. You have the centralization of central governments that come about. And if you look at the Democratic spending bill that's coming up, this is centralizing government. This is increasing social spending, which I'm a fan of, but, Rand Paul and 40 Republicans in the House voted against. So vote. Wash your hands a whole bunch. And this comes from Alana Sheikh, global health expert on TED TV. She had said that immediately people think travel bans, quarantine, that's where people go first. But she said that it doesn't work. It's already here. It's all over the place. People are getting it, and you don't even know where it came from. So that means it's all over. It's already on the floors and on the, milk jugs and the cereal boxes and the steering wheels and doorknobs, and it's just all over the place. So travel bans, quarantine, the long-term thing we need to do is massive hospitalizations. It's like the flu, but it could kill you if it's not taken care of. So when people find it, nip it in the bud. Get your rest, drink some fluids, make sure you eat well. So eat, drink, and rest, and get plenty of sleep. And if your symptoms get worse, call a doctor. And warn them that you think it might be, COVID-19. So we're going to need massive hospitalizations and TLC. medical sick leave. Universal health care is a big, policy, a clear policy that we would need in order to get this taken care of. UBI would help too, universal health care, UBI, but sick leave, they're preparing the House Democrats, and I think they're going to pass it Monday. The Senate is the 14 days of sick leave, 14 days. So if you're a working person, you're an employee, you file W-2, and therefore you will get 14 paid sick days from the federal government, 2/3 of your pay. So 14 days of paid sick leave is perfect. That's the same thing New York City. Bill de Blasio is doing 5 days paid sick. That's a, a punishment that fits the crime. That's exactly, you have a disease, pandemic, you have a medical emergency, so you have medical solutions. And so the medical solutions, you can get testing just to see, where we're at for right now. But ultimately, it's everywhere. It's all over the place. Nobody's immune to it. Everybody's susceptible to it. If you're old and you already have, illnesses and sickness, it could be the thing that knocks you out, that takes you, that ends you. And so, therefore, it also, it hits healthy people, but it hits 80-year-olds more. It hits 80-year-olds the most. But everybody could get it, and everybody could die from it. And so, since we need massive hospitalizations, we'll be fine. Probably America, maybe not the Deep South, but most of America has hospitals all over the place. Cuba, they got universal health care. Canada, all the nations with universal health care, they'll be fine. Right? They get sick, just go into the hospital, get taken care of. It's free. Why wouldn't you go? You're sick, go to the hospital, get taken care of. You're done. Why wouldn't you do that? Mexico's going to suffer. Africa's going to suffer. All the nations that don't have universal health care like America is going to suffer. So this, compare and contrast all these different pandemics. I know I listed a bunch of, they seem minor to me, but if you died of them, that's, wasn't minor to you. But it didn't turn out to be the pandemic that, we all had thought. But I think because speculation, that's what Wall Street's about, speculation. You don't know how far it could go. And you don't know exactly, if it could morph or it could evolve or if it could get even worse. It's using RNA and it's got those corona suction cups. And so the worst one was the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic in modern history. This is after World War I, Woodrow Wilson, the Espionage Act, Eugene Debs, the riots, all this shit's going on. So 1918, you got all the troops all over the world spreading this disease everywhere. 50 million are going to get killed with the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. And then there's the bubonic plague, which I don't know the years. I wrote 1400s. It was a long time ago. But 1/3 of the world's population is going to die. So the bubonic plague is the worst. 1918 Spanish flu would be the worst in modern history, but 50 million died. That's a lot of people, 50 million. That was more people than died in World War I. So the rise of the centralized state corresponds with pandemics. $8 billion spending bill was passed by Congress and Donald Trump last week. Donald Trump announced the national emergency declaration. $43 billion is now freed up in FEMA funds if it comes to that. Another spending bill is coming up right now. 14 paid sick leave days plus 3 months of emergency hospital funding. And then a whole bunch of other stuff too. So it's a good thing, and I hope that the Republicans in the Senate pass it on Monday and that Donald signs it. Now, there's yellow vests are still marching through Paris, France, in spite of the COVID-19 crackdown in Paris. So, Macron has cracked down in Paris because of the coronavirus, but yellow vests are still at it. Yellow vests are some dedicated, permanent revolutionaries. They've been doing it for, 2 years now? Fantastic, yellow vest. I like the yellow vest movement. I like the spirit of the yellow vest movement. Here's 3 quotes from Edward Snowden. The freedom of a country can only be measured by its respect for the rights of its citizens, and it's my conviction that these rights are in fact limitations of state power that define exactly where and when a government may not infringe into that domain of freedoms. Edward Snowden. My sole motive is to inform the public as to that which is done in their name and that which is done against them. Edward Snowden. That ultimately is the critical flaw or design defect intentionally integrated in every system, in both politics and computing. The people who create the rules have no incentive to act against themselves. Edward Snowden. So, Ebola, coronavirus, SARS, Zika virus, swine flu, bird flu, that type B flu, that H3N2, the West Nile, Zika, nobody talks about Zika, SARS, MERS, is it gone? I mean, I remember everybody getting freaked out about it. Nobody declared an end to the SARS pandemic or the Zika pandemic. That was mosquitoes, right? Zika. So Mike Pence, I mean, they have been bungling this. You know, Donald takes no responsibility. But who literally believes that dinosaurs are on Noah's Arks? Noah's Arks. He just has the one ark in that fictional story, in that fictional book. So Mike Pence thinks that dinosaurs were on Noah's Ark. Mike Pence calls his wife mother because he's Oedipus. Mike Pence is the guy that thinks smoking won't kill you. Smoking is probably good for you. Hell, everybody should take up smoking and go to work and cough on each other during this corona crisis. Mike Pence, he caused an HIV outbreak in Indiana. He thought praying it away would work, and he rejected the needle exchange program. So the HIV outbreak happened in Indiana because of Mike Pence. Coronavirus, COVID-19, 2019. It's a family of viruses whose effects range from causing common cold to SARS to MERS. Flu has a death rate 0.1%, but the coronavirus is 20 times higher at 2%. So it is a little worse than the flu. 75 caught HIV before Pence got a needle exchange program. 75, so 75 people are dead in Indiana because of Mike Pence. Mike Pence is the one that's going to take care of this. Death rate in China in kids under 10, 0 cases. So it's not affecting children and healthy adults. 0.02% of all cases, so 2 out of 1,000 die. But in the sick and the elderly, the death rate is 15%. So if you're sick or if you're old, then the coronavirus can knock you out. It can take you out of this, you know, this realm of reality forever and ever. California has several cases. You know, everybody knows there's been 41 deaths so far in America, but just a week ago we just started finding out about individuals. There was a 65-year-old resident of Santa Clara County. Never traveled to any other countries. Nobody else was sick that they're exposed to. They're in U.S. David Medical Center in California. The woman in Solano County, she was the first woman 90 miles away from Santa Clara. First case found in Washington State. It was Washington State. Jay Inslee that actually requested the national emergency. 85,000 cases were confirmed worldwide. That was Jesus. Now there's been 150,000 cases of, infections, and 5,000 dead. 3,000 of those deaths are in China. So they said there was, a week ago, 65 cases in 9 states. Now that there's 34, cases and 1,500, I think, cases the CDC says. So this shit's everywhere. That's a little bit of some statistics there for you. I'm going to end it off with some Edward Snowden quotes. So many of the things we're told by the government simply ain't true. Edward Snowden. Privacy is the fountainhead of all other rights. Freedom of speech doesn't have a lot of meaning if you can't have a quiet space, a space within yourself, within your mind, within the community of your friends, within your home to decide what it is you actually want to say. Being called a traitor, Edward Snowden, being called a traitor by Dick Cheney is the highest honor you can give to an American. Edward Snowden. So America, wash your hands, take care of yourself, have a cleanly attitude, be conscious. Don't, panic and freak out, but it is very, easy for it to travel from person to person. It's just a droplet, so a cough, a touch, person to person, very easy. Nobody's immune to this thing. Don't panic, but nobody's immune to this thing. Nobody panic, okay? Nobody panic. Nobody's immune to it, and it's so easy to get. Anybody can get it. It's so damn no immunity. But it seems to me like it's a flu. It seems to me like a swine flu, bird flu kind of thing. And so Donald wasn't too far off. He's trying to, lower expectations or what have you. He does need to, just get in lockstep with science. Fuck the bullshit. Fuck trying to, not cause a panic. You bullshitting everybody is kind of causing the panic. The national emergency has been declared, right? So since the national emergency has been declared, Wall Street is now, okay, Donald's got this. We're doing okay. So some of the things we're told by the government simply ain't true, says Edward Snowden. So yeah, learn your own information. Pay attention to the CDC. I don't trust the CDC. TED TV, that seem to be good resources for me. I'd say Wikipedia. Check out Wikipedia. And, just common sense. So research and use your knowledge and use common sense. I think we'll get through this. I think it'll be all right. But, yeah. That's everything I know about the coronavirus so far. Peace.